So going through the zombie survivor tier list had me really debating over something long and hard, and we aren't talking about what the charge would be whacking and macking and smacking. Officer Kenneth Hall coming out the sole survivor of C tier because of reasonings including, of course, being an officer of the law, being proficient in firearms, and being able to lead others in somewhat de-escalate situations. However, what brought this burly man down from a probable B or even A tier was his horrible decision making and where to go when it comes to safe havens for long-term survivability. The Crossroads Mall, or I should say the idea and location of a mall, is a cornerstone in zombie media, being the first giant set piece in zombie cinematic history, with 1978's Dawn of the Dead in the still-standing Monroeville Mall in Pennsylvania. It's gone on to inspire many stories set during a zombie apocalypse where the mall takes center stage. From Left 4 Dead 2's Liberty Mall comprising half of its Dead Center campaign, to the entirety of Dead Rising 1's experience making full use of the many outlet stores and their stock to take on zombie hordes, to today's subject matter of 2004's Dawn of the Dead, where the survivors hole up within the Crossroads Mall of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And with every previously mentioned foray through the respective mall in each of those zombie outbreaks, there was some reasoning as to why each scenario's group of survivors had to ditch the mall for some reason or another. Left 4 Dead, the Liberty Mall was not only an entirely overrun evacuation center, but pretty much all of its supplies were stripped clean and left barren by either emergency crews or scavengers. Dead Rising, an establishing safe haven, ruined by a poodle-loving Karen and a litany of psychopaths. Dawn of the Dead 1978, a band of bikers break into the mall, allowing the undead to flood in, and this was after a group of 3 people and an infected person barricaded it up by themselves. Dawn of the Dead 2004, however, had no sensible reasoning whatsoever to abandoning the mall. Nothing forced them out. It's always been something that has stuck in the back of my mind for the almost 20 years that Zack Snyder's first zombie film has existed. With everything they had going on for them, and what the world had basically turned into on the outside, I simply had one question to ask. Why didn't the survivors just stay in the mall in Dawn of the Dead 2004? To be honest, the survivors of Dawn of the Dead were extremely lucky to even get to the Crossroads Mall at all, with it being largely untouched and without hundreds or thousands of infected already at its doors. Everyone that met at the street already encountered a decent amount of the undead, only to find this large, all-consuming square footage of a monument to American capitalism to just be empty, and even its parking lots devoid of even a singular car. Not that Anna didn't just get in a car wreck involving people earlier just down the road, or that there were literal billows of smoke from multiple explosions caused by the ensuing pandemic because it was happening everywhere, but hey, the mall was closed and the zombies respect that apparently. They are able to get in with a turlet and subsequently clear out much of the first floor, only running into just a few zombies, less than half a dozen, while some stragglers slap up against the window. They are confronted by the mall security guards and are told to stay within specific areas for a while before another group of survivors start barreling in via box truck asking to be saved. After some inner turmoil and mutiny, do they get the second group of survivors inside narrowly, avoiding the swarms of ghouls chasing after them. Big Boomer Bertha is shown to have been bitten and slowly dies right after, only to turn and be swiftly taken out by the overnight nurse. It's from here I'll stop going over the synopsis of the story up until that point and go over why the mall became such a great place to be for the zombie apocalypse in this specific story. Despite the 3 groups of people having differences of how leadership should be done, conflicts of differentiating personality types, and dealing with those that were bitten prior to entering the mall, they all banded together eventually. There may have been some regime changes that had shifts in leadership from the power-hungry mall cup to the disgruntled police officer, but bygones would eventually be bygones. Over an undisclosed amount of time passes, we do see the large amount of people actually enjoying their residence at Crossroads Mall, spending their time leisurely partaking in the mall's many amenities from working out, watching television, having decent coffee on tap, trying on clothes, the guy from Modern Family getting his freak on, playing golf, having quiet family dinners, and even sitting atop the roof communicating with the gun store owner named Andy via dry erase boards, playing chess and executing zombies that look like celebrities. They are dealing with literally no zombies getting inside the mall and are basically just having a mini vacation while hundreds of undead accumulate outside. Seems like a pretty sweet setup, right? Got enough supplies for just about any situation to last a decent amount of time, and the people to do it. But no, that was never meant to be apparently. When the power for the mall goes out, a group led by Kenneth is sent into the underground garage to start up the backup generator to get things online again, when a horde of undead ambushes them, leading to the death of the dim-witted security guard, all while they watch as a group of zombies they set ablaze burn to death. Up topside, do we discover that the pregnant European lady was scratched by a zombie when they first got there from earlier in the movie, and the effects of the virus are almost coming to a full head for her. So, her husband bounds and gags her in the toy store so she can live long enough to give birth to their baby. I honestly don't know why they never performed bite checks on every single person in the mall once they came to the conclusion that bites and scratches infect people, but well, better leave the married couple to their own vices, not like something can happen. Once the old woman goes to check on them, it just becomes a shootout of the kindly old gun-toting grandma Karen and the sweaty baby daddy before everyone is basically gunned down, leading to a pregnant zombie and still one of the most scenes in zombie history with the dead baby. I've said it many times, but I still can't get over that this was a thing. Zack Snyder has a thing for zombie fetuses and zombie babies. I don't know what to tell you. It was what occurred as a result of the garage horde attack and the baby mama zombie drama that just sets me off in a non-stop flow of berating fictional characters for their dumb decision making in an infinite loop of internal dialogue that bounces back and forth between why the fuck would you do that? You realize that is 10 times dumber than what you are doing now, and Zack Snyder, why? Because when push comes to shove after losing a few people due to what was basically carelessness, not ensuring everyone's well-being, and basically just not giving a fuck till now, Officer Kenneth Hall spurs the idea of leaving the mall. Hey, that rhymed.
Because now I realize that there's some things worse than death, and one of them is sitting here waiting to die.
I don't want to die here.
But why?
I saw a couple of buses in the garage. We could fix them up, we could reinforce them, and get as far from here as possible.
And then what?
Exactly.
While we're at it, why don't we swing by the marina and hop in my boat and take it for a pleasure cruise, you jackasses?
This baby is off the charts. Why? Oh, a sarcasm detector. Oh, that's a really useful invention.
That's a good idea. There's islands out in those lakes. There's not a lot of people on them.
You shitting me?
You're serious?
I think it's a damn good idea.
Are you crazy? Or just plain stupid?
Yeah, it's a good idea.
You have a heavily fortified and walled off compound full of supplies. Islands could be full of people with the same idea as you that turned, or they already turned and are zombies. You also have no intel on the outside world whatsoever besides knowing a lot of safe havens were overrun. Why not try and figure shit out first?
But let me just see if I grasp this concept, okay? We take some fucking parking shuttles and reinforce them with some aluminum siding, and then we're gonna drive across the ruined city through a welcome committee of a few 100,000 dead cannibals, also that we can sail off into the sunset on this fucking asshole's boat and head for some island that for all we know doesn't even exist.
Hey, he might have the right idea.
Yeah.
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 I'm in.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Oh, okay, just because you explain in complete detail why what you're doing is a bad idea and bringing attention to it doesn't mean it's funny for breaking the fourth wall to address people that are just asking why. I guess Zack Snyder was ahead of Marvel when it came to writing characters explaining why something is funny. Because of this asinine decision, they revamp 2 buses, set up chainsaws to chop up the dead through some holes, and get ready to pick up Andy across the street. But from there, Andy gets bitten trying to get food, old guy gets eaten alive, Modern Family gets ambushed, slutty girl gets split in half and not in the fun way, the top security guard megalomarts himself, and the dude that said it was a good idea to do all of this gets bitten, over half a dozen deaths, just to get to the boat. Literally, more of you died getting to the boat than staying in the mall. Why was desperately running to a boat for blind hope at an island paradise in the middle of a vast lake a desirable death over dying in a mall? Why? Y'all get on the boat and eventually make shore and boo-hop, zombies there too. Who would have tunk it? They die and shit. But did they have to go and do all of this? If this wasn't a horror movie where we needed to force the survivors out of a safe haven for no reason other than to reach the climax, then the survivors could have definitely survived long term. There was no driving force to force them out of the mall besides just being like, I don't want to die here. You're just being fucking stupid. Let's rewind a bit to the point of no return so we can reverse the decision of YOLOing out of the mall when the first inconvenience happens. Because looking back, we barely see them fortifying this place to ensure their safety. Hundreds of zombies are constantly pounding at glass doors and not much is done in terms of barricading all entry points. In one of the deleted scenes, we do see some of the entry points being barricaded, but they don't spend much time doing that. You do have an untapped mall's worth of resources you could be spending all that time using to barricade, weaponize, and even booby-trap entry points all across the mall. At stairwells, doorways, you have a lot of options, especially considering other survivors might try and take the mall by force, and something like the bikers from the original Dawn of the Dead could happen, just to make sure zombies don't break through an entry point and all flood in, especially since they are the full sprint, full dead type of zombie. A lot of the survivors' time is spent on the rooftops, either goofing off, killing celebrity lookalikes, playing chess via binoculars, and even laying out messages for potential airborne rescue vehicles. All that time up there just looking down at zombies when they could have been just picking them off one by one. You could argue the people in the mall don't have enough ammunition to take out hundreds of zombies, but hell, you have a guy across the street that owns a freaking gun store. Have him do the thing where you're messaging him and communicating with him, have him pick them off slowly but surely over the day. While Andy, the gun store owner, is shooting fish in a barrel, you can do that thing where you modify the bus or buses with chainsaws sticking out so you can go pick them up eventually and have a steady supply of weapons in trade for him actually being able to eat. Dude has a gun store, and y'all even have firearms in the mall. It might seem like a lot to shoot and kill, but hey, you could probably even set up controlled burns from above where you throw Molotovs and burn them alive, or use propane tanks like you did to blow up 2 people in your survivor group and just blow up hordes by leading them to areas of the mall down below that aren't near barricaded entry points. Take out a lot of zombies with one explosion. This group of survivors could do a lot from above to thin the herd below so they could do scavenge runs for further supplies in the future. And considering it's a mall, it would take a good while before supplies would dwindle. People argued back in my zombie sins of Dawn of the Dead 2004 years ago that supplies would run out and they would not have a choice but to leave for the fabled island. But having a large compound that you can work from where you can network with a guy proficient and plentiful in weapons would easily lead to avenues for getting more food. Making gardens on the rooftop, leaving out buckets so rain can drop in there so you have fresh water, finding radio supplies because guess what? This is a mall in 2004 and I'm sure there's a Radio Shack lying around somewhere so you can have someone searching the airwaves for other survivors or news of any army resistance against the pandemic. You could be searching for information about what's going on in the Milwaukee area and beyond. Maybe there is an island. Maybe they'll say, oh, the island's overrun, can't go that way. You already did that with a group of survivors earlier when they said the safe haven was overrun, so you decided not to go there. You could barricade stairwells inside in case zombies do break in to have multi-tiered fail-safes within the mall, just in case they break in. Also use the gates of each individual store to give residents their own sleeping space to stay safe while in the mall at night and have their own privacy in case there is a break-in. And again, when supplies are needed, roll out in those armored buses to plow through hordes, whittle down numbers near grocery stores or other establishments, and then when you have taken out all the zombies, go inside with everyone wearing heavily padded sporting uniforms because there's a whole section of the mall you can see right there that is dedicated to sports stuff to get inside to get these supplies. Because I don't get why they never used any sporting outfits. And holy shit, on that note, even better, y'all know bites infect you. You made that a point from the very beginning. Train your people to be prepared for that and on how to use weapons. None of that, oopsies, I chainsawed someone else in half on accident. Oops, did I do that? Have your people know how to use weapons and also wear clothes to protect themselves from bites. And knowing how to use the weapons you are centering your whole operation around. The Crossroads Mall could have been the perfect safe haven for Snyder's crew of survivors. The mall never once was besieged, out of supplies, or anything else. Just people wanting a better place to die. And hey, if you want your final sight on Earth being just eaten alive on a tropical island, good for you, I guess, but why not envision a long-term future for yourself and others where this untapped mall meets its fullest potential, where you can bring Andy over and shoot zombies to your heart's content for as long as dead people walk this earth. They could have easily stayed in the mall and lived like kings and queens. But one dumb little speech and they all died.
Because now I realize that there's some things worse than death, and one of them is sitting here.
Is he seriously giving a speech right now? Is he seriously giving a speech right now?
Nah, I am not about that. Pure stupidity on everyone's parts, that's the answer to the video's question. Why live comfortably when you can die with a good view? That about wraps up this video that went from a video on the stupidity of Dawn of the Dead 2004 survivors to a semi-laid out plan on how they could have made the mall work. I've been racking these ideas around a bit, as the long-form content I usually make is on the back burner as I'm trying to get my voice back, I'm trying to help out my girlfriend as I get ready for PAX West and a lot of other stuff. Should be getting back to the long form content fairly soon. Is there other stupid stuff in zombie media that never made much sense to you and just irritates you? Let me know down in the comments, and let me just give a big ol' shout out to my supporters like you for subscribing and liking, and an on-screen shout out to my Patreon patrons and YouTube channel members. These guys are so sexy and awesome. Your support keeps me motivated to keep marching towards that 1 million subscriber goal. Stay tuned for a collab with me and Roanoke as we discuss if Dead Space's necromorphs are zombies or not. Until next time, I'm Zack aka Wow Such Gaming. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe, and stay wow.